Hey guys, welcome to
Hey.
our Norm Macdonald episode of Live from Movie Hero. This is episode number 8, and yeah, we're excited to just get into some Norm Macdonald stuff. He unfortunately passed away about a month ago or so, and for me, I know that. Well, before we get into that, I want to introduce Austin. He's my co-host for tonight. I'm gonna skip over that. So yeah, how you
Oh
doing,
no,
Austin?
it's all good. No, I mean, when we were talking when Norm died, and we're saying, well, I mean, we have a SNL, show that we do, and obviously he was a big part of SNL, especially in the big '90s, and that it would just be appropriate if our next episode we kind of just tabled what we were going to do, and then just pivot away from that and talk about Norm Macdonald. Luckily, he hosted an episode in 1999, so that kind of segues right into what we do on the show here, anyways, and then we can just talk about Norm afterwards. But yeah, it works for our format, and yeah, we're happy to be doing it. Unfortunately, doing it on a note that we didn't want to do it, with Norm passing away, but we're here to talk about how funny he was, and
Yeah, yeah,
celebrate, how much he made
absolutely.
us laugh. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, like the news of his passing kind of hit me pretty hard as far as celebrities go. I remember
Hmm.
that the day that he passed away, uh, somebody texted me that and they said, "You hear about Norm Macdonald?" I was like, "No, what happened?" It was like pretty early in the morning when I got it. And
Hmm.
they said that he passed away, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like when they told me, I like literally just like put my phone down and just kind of sat and just had like a quiet moment for a minute. I'm like, "Oh my
Hmm.
gosh!" Like I can't believe that he passed away
Yeah.
because like even before that, he was one of my favorite comedians. Like he
Yeah.
and also he just one of those guys where like most stand up comedians today have a bunch of crazy stories about Norm Macdonald. If you go into YouTube, there's all these comedians telling crazy stories even before he passed away. Like he was just
Hmm.
one of those guys that really like to push the boundaries. So yeah, he was always super entertaining to watch, and also his delivery too. He had a really awesome
His
delivery.
delivery is what made him so unique, and that's why his stuff, especially on Weekend Update when he would do it on SNL, it wasn't so much the material of like the jokes, it was just the way he deadpan delivered it, and he didn't care if he bombed. Like that's the funniest
Yeah,
thing is
right.
like if he bombed, he would just let it sit there for a second, those extra two or
Yeah,
three
yeah.
seconds, just because he didn't
Just
care,
sit
because it
there.
made it funnier. He would just sit there and stare and kind of shuffle the
Yeah,
papers and smile, do that little smirk he
yeah,
would do, and,
yep.
and then just move on, because like he didn't care. Like that was the great thing is like Norm Macdonald was just the ultimate comedian that just didn't care. The more he bombed, the better, because the more awkward it made it, the more the funnier it made it. And Norm was just one of the best. And don't get me wrong, his writing was, you know, obviously amazing. Like you could tell a lot of the stuff on Weekend Update was stuff he wrote. The non sequitur stuff with the, or so the Germans would have us believe, or the Frank Stallone stuff. Just all the goofy stuff that makes no sense, but like he didn't care because he just was doing it to make himself and make other people laugh. So yeah, that's what's so great about him. And yeah, he's a funny actor too, and just a great performer, and just
Yeah,
really unique.
and yeah, and like even when the jokes bomb too, sometimes he'd like have some pretty quippy things to say. Oh, you didn't like that one, huh? All right, well,
Yeah.
or whatever. Just like
Oh,
different.
that's the one that got you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
All right. Yeah, yeah. But the crazy thing is that like I think he had cancer for like 6 or 7
10
or
years or something.
or
Like 10 years is what I heard. Like a whole decade or
even 10 years.
something.
Yeah, yeah. Like
And
I'm
he
not even
just like
sure how long he
didn't.
had it, but
He
yeah,
just kept it private between like a small group of like his family basically, and he never told anybody, or never tried to show it, or he just kept it hidden, and because he didn't want all this stuff, like he just didn't want like a pity party is kind of
yeah,
what he
like a pity
said.
party.
He didn't want like this.
Yeah,
He just wanted to keep doing what he does and just keep on living. So yeah, when I thought he looked a little. When you go back and look the last year or two, some of his videos, he definitely was like talking a little slower, like he was, kind of, wasn't as upbeat or whatever. But when you look back on, it, he was probably on a lot of, medication or drugs or
yeah,
going through treatment, things like that, and it makes sense. But yeah, but even then, I had a great time when we were kind of prepping for the show, just watching people have all kinds of compilations of like his weekend update stuff that's just always funny, and stuff from his shows where he's just reading really bad jokes from like joke books, or just all of his appearances in movies, things like that. It was a lot of fun to kind of go through and just reminisce a little bit, just have some fun and laugh a lot, because a lot of it made me laugh a whole lot.
Yeah, a lot. And like probably like the last year, like or so. Like I remember thinking, man, like he's looked like he's like aged a lot in the last year or something. Looks a little older or something. So like we can understand a little bit more why now. So
yeah.
But
so never judge people with how they're appearing. They might be going through something you didn't know. It's like when a lot of people talk about Chadwick Boseman when he had those videos where he kind of looked really thin. He kind of looks sick, and people were just like, "What is this for a role? Like, what's going on? Why does he look weird?" And then we found out it's because he's going through cancer treatment. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, I mean, you never know what somebody's going through, but it's interesting. But we're here to talk about some things that made us laugh, and especially like we talked about on the show, SNL. So what we did was we'll talk about some more about some other Norm things later, but to get to kind of the format of what we do here, we went back to when he hosted in 1999, October 23rd, and it was actually a year and a half after he got fired, so it makes for an interesting monologue, especially, but an interesting kind of setup for the show in general.
And the episode that we want to talk about, so he hosted in 1999. It was October 25th, 1999. So he was the host, and then you have a musical guest, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Eminem. So we'll kind of talk about the whole episode. We might go a little quicker through some of the stuff that he wasn't in, but we'll still get into pretty much everything from the episode. So, he hosted this episode, and then he came back one more time in season 35, episode 22. That was in 2009 to reprise his Burt Reynolds character too. So he made some sporadic appearances. I think even on the 40th anniversary celebration, he showed up as Burt. Like he would make little appearances here and there. But this is the only time he ever officially came back and hosted. Was here in '99. So that's why we're going to be talking about this one. But I mean, he'll forever be a part of SNL. If you think of SNL in the 90s, again, especially Weekend Update, like he's my favorite one. He's the best. Like people pretty much agree. Same. He's like the greatest that ever did it. I mean, he's the best, or at least people that understand comedy and like what makes a great comedic performer, like kind of know that Norm was the best. Like even though it was only 2 years, he crammed a lot into those 2 years. Yeah, because like I remember kind of comparing him to some of the other Weekend Update hosts that went before and after him. So you had Dennis Miller, which he's fine. Like if you're into that type of sense of humor, I know that my dad really is. He's a big Dennis Miller fan, but like for us, we've been kind of going through episodes where it gets a little grating after a little while, just like over and over again. Where we've been watching some of his episodes from the 80s, and then even Colin Quinn after him. Like I think Colin Quinn kind of tried to have like Norm Macdonald's style. You can see him like just kind of reading off the teleprompter more with a little less kind of energy and like less personality. And like I noticed Colin Quinn just have like pieces of paper in front of him, and then he'll just kind of look at the like paper kind of with a blank stare. You can really tell he's looking off to the side reading the teleprompter, which I think that like Norm Macdonald like he did that for sure, but he also like inserted a lot of his own personality and like different things in there, a lot more than a lot of these other people, I feel like. So
no, I mean, again, because when we talk about it, it's all in the delivery of hitting that punchline the way Norm would and just letting it sit there, whether it was funny or not to the audience. He would just let it sit there. He didn't just move on to the next one. Like Colin Quinn, he kind of does it, and if it bombs, he kind of takes notice of it and is like, oh, I guess that didn't. Like he kind of gets taken aback, like as opposed to Norm would just smile and like revel in it, relish in it of something just bombing or what have you. But like, and Kevin Nealon had that. He's one of my favorites too, but he would have that style where he kind of just read it like a news anchor and would just keep going. So it's like you had to keep up with him almost, as opposed to him keeping up with you. Like he would just rattle them off, and he had his own style. But yeah, he definitely was so unique in his way. And we'll talk about how weird it is that, especially later on this episode when Norm's hosting, but then we still get Weekend Update with Colin Quinn. It's just kind of strange, like when you just sit back and think about it, like especially with anybody. Yeah, but we'll talk about that later. But
Yeah, we'll just jump into it. So the episode starts with the cold open, and it just with Rudy Giuliani's World Series bets. So you have Gerald Hammond playing Rudy Giuliani, the mayor of New York at the time, and just had a press conference, just kind of making some like crazy bets with the mayor of Atlanta because they were playing the Yankees were about to play the Braves in the World Series. So they're making these crazy bets, like they want to like exchange some like New York strip steaks, like in exchange for some Georgia peaches or some weird things like that.
Yeah. And they're talking about how we'll trade like law enforcement. Like he's like, you send us, if we win, you're going to send us a whole bunch of your most inbred state troopers to crack some skulls up here and clean up the streets, things like that. Or if we win, we want the severed head of John Rocker, things like that. Or if I win, you'll have to have a Scarlett O'Hara romance with a plunger, just like ridiculous stuff just coming out of his mouth. It's a whole thing just going back and forth. But this was talking about how, especially in the late 90s, like Atlanta Braves fever was kind of everywhere. It kind of took over. Like everybody was like rooting for the Braves everywhere. I don't know why. It just kind of took over and became like a phenomenon. But because maybe it's just because they were on TBS all the time because Ted Turner had bought them. So Braves was just on TV constantly on the weekends, on TBS. It was like the Braves station for baseball.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it's just on.
Like even me, like I even became a little bit of a Braves fan. They had a pitcher, Greg Maddux, back in the day. That was one of my favorite pitchers. And then you had guys like Chipper Jones and like I can't remember too many of the rest of their guys, but there's a couple that really stood out to me. So yeah, but
no, I was going to say the only two that I knew, and I wasn't even really a baseball fan, but it was Greg Maddux and Chipper Jones of the Braves. Like everybody was wearing their jerseys, and they were kind of one of the top teams that people were following, along with the Braves or the Red Sox, things like that. So it was pretty much anybody in the South was rooting for the Braves, and obviously anybody up north was rooting for the Yankees. But it was a team to get behind.
And also too, like I'm not a Yankees fan. I actually can't stand the Yankees. So anyone who plays against them, I instantly become a fan for that World Series or whatever series or whatever. So but so after that, we had the opening monologue. So I don't know if you want to take us through it a little bit.
Dude, this is one of the great monologues of all time because like he literally addresses the elephant in the room like right off the bat. Because like we said, this is 1999. This is a year and a half after he was literally fired from SNL. The producers, a lot of producers at NBC had fired him and said he wasn't funny. And I think what it was is they were getting tired of the O.J. Simpson jokes. They were getting tired of like a lot of the stuff he was just harping on even years after. He was going after NBC and a lot of jokes, itself. And I think they were just done with it, and they just didn't like his delivery. They didn't think he was funny, and he addresses that here. So he comes out and he's just kind of smiling, and everybody's yelling Norm, because this is also around the time he had started a sitcom, I believe, Norm.
Oh, yeah.
He had for like 2 seasons, and so everybody's yelling Norm, and he goes, "Well, you're absolutely right. That is my name." That's his first line. But he's talking about how as some of you remember, I used to be on this here show, Saturday Night Live, and about a year and a half ago, myself and the producers had a bit of a disagreement. You see, I wanted to keep my job, and they felt the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So he's like, they fired me, and it's about a year and a half, and it's funny. I'm back here hosting because they think I'm funny, obviously, if they have me host. But a year and a half ago, they said I wasn't funny, and it's not that I've gotten funnier in the year and a half. It's that the show has gotten really, really bad.
Bad, yeah.
And he's just about how horrible the show has gotten, and it's just really not funny. But the funny thing is that he puts a punch on it. You know how people always say. At the end of the monologue, we got a great show for you tonight. He literally goes, "We got a bad show for you here tonight."
Oh yeah.
And he's just like, well, you'll see, you'll see. Talking about stuff, but ironically enough, he says we got a bad show for you. But as you'll talk about, this is a great show. I thought from top to bottom, a pretty awesome show. for the most part. Like the writing was good. Like maybe he just elevated it, or they wanted it to be really good, but it was solid show from top to bottom.
Yeah, and one of the things at the very end where he's like, okay, so let's recap. The bad news is I'm still not funny. The good news is the show blows. All right, folks, we got a great show.
Blows.
Yeah.
No, we got a bad show for you tonight, folks.
Yeah.
No, it's just great because he just addressed what everybody was already thinking, or if they didn't know the situation, like he just put it right out there, and I'm glad they were able to just let him just address it in the monologue right off the bat. Like they weren't trying to hide anything or trying to play nice. He's just like, no, they fired me a year and a half ago and told me I wasn't funny, so now I'm gonna host, and I guess I'm funny again. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Really good. Go look it up if you haven't. It's on the internet. You can find it pretty easily. But we moved into a pretty memorable impression from the late '90s with Anna Gasteyer doing her Martha Stewart here on the next thing.
Yeah, she did it multiple times. So yeah, like I always enjoyed it whenever she would do it. Like one of my favorite ones, which isn't the one here, but she did a Martha Stewart topless one that like always cracked me.
Oh yeah, that's right. They had her blurred out the entire time while she was just like walking around.
Just kind of like crazy. Yeah, Martha Stewart's gonna look crazy. Yeah, but like basically though, she's just talking about herself and her IP and going public and like talking about herself as a commodity. But like she just brings in all these little like words and phrases that like Martha Stewart uses all the time.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "Do you love the amber hues of the autumn filtered through the weathered planks of the 18th century New England barn? Well, how about heirloom tomatoes plucked fresh from the garden and pickled in a savory rosemary brine? No? Well, how about cold hard cash?
The aroma of money."
Yeah. She's like, I'm Martha Stewart. This week I hit the mother load. Yeah.
And she's like, my stock certificates make an excellent wall hanging.
Yeah. Yeah, where she's like, on Tuesday, I sold my 7.5 million shares of myself to the apple-picking, antique-collecting, recklessly e-trading public.
Yeah.
Martha Stewart, one of the most successful IPOs in Wall Street history. The soothing aroma of money. And then she like pulls out some money and she like smells it. Like the scent that I really cherish. Yeah. Yeah.
No, she's talking about how like there's like a Martha Stewart she plays, but she's like, and the real Martha is a frigid 58-year-old divorcee with a filthy mouth and a mean streak.
Yeah. But the Martha Stewart, the commodity, has a tremendous potential for expansion and growth. Future ventures include retail stores, theme parks, and converting Cuba into an enormous bed and breakfast. So contact your broker or visit me at my website.
Yeah. So it's basically just like, it's like a 3-minute thing where she's just like talking about her brand, her IPO, and how much money she made off of taking it public, kind of like something out of the Wolf of Wall Street or something, with like the shoes. But no, it's good. And I have to say, so I've been working the frozen department a lot at my grocery store, and a few months ago we got in the Martha Stewart frozen dinners, right? Like the individual frozen dinners, like the TV dinners. And I'll give you a guess. Jordan, can you guess how much each one costs?
Well, I guess that they're probably more expensive because it has the name on it. So I'm gonna guess like $5 or $6, something like that.
Oh, go higher.
like 8 maybe.
Yeah, they're $8 a piece for these things, for these little and they're not like the family size, entree things. They're like the individual portion, like beef and brandy wine and chicken cacciatore and like all this stuff too. They're $8 a pop, $8. and now she's got like these desserts. There's like an apple crisp with like a carrot cake over in the other section. Like those are like $13. I mean, just ridiculous. Yeah. But hey, I had people coming in once we got the dinners asking me about the desserts because they're in the magazines, all the Good Housekeeping magazines and all that stuff. Of course, they're all advertisements, so we got to have them.
Yeah, I don't even know if Martha Stewart even has a show anymore. I know she did at one point, but I don't know that.
I think it's just maybe, but it could be just the magazines and stuff at this point. Like I'm really not sure.
Yeah, or there could be something on like Lifetime or TLC, one of those channels or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something that I don't watch. I didn't do my research into it.
Yeah, right. You didn't do your Martha Stewart research?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, the next sketch that And it was the great moments in Yankee history. It's just a little
Oh my
quick
God,
one
it's the best.
of Norm Macdonald playing Lou Gehrig doing the famous speech. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was interesting because I've heard the original speech because I used to have this book, Jordan. It's like this big hardcover book, and it came with these CDs, and it was like the greatest calls in sports history or the greatest audio, and it came with the CD, so you could hear the original one. And the original Lou Gehrig speech is like on there, so I've heard the original one where it's you know it if you heard it. It's the luckiest man in the world speech, you know, where he's talking about he's the luckiest man in the world. So let's take off of this. He comes out and he goes, today I feel like the luckiest man in the world. And they all cheer, and he goes, I was being sarcastic.
I'm unlucky.
I'm unlucky.
Yeah.
I have a disease so rare, they named it after me.
Me, yeah. Yeah.
Lucky me.
Lucky me, yeah. Yeah, like you people are hopeless.
Yeah.
Everyone's like
Still cheering. It's like that. It's all that
Yeah.
stock footage
Yeah.
of like people cheering at Yankee Stadium, like the
Yeah.
black and white footage. Like
Yeah.
literally, it's only like this is like a minute, and it's
Yeah.
all about like we were talking about Norm's delivery. Like Norm's delivery, this sarcastic
Yeah.
delivery is like what makes it
Yeah.
really funny because it's a simple joke. It's a simple premise of him being not the luckiest man, but unlucky. Doesn't sound that funny, but the way he delivers it is the best. Like he just nails it.
Like probably out of any sketch, like this is the one that's like all about his delivery. Like this is the one
Yeah.
that like his delivery is what makes it funny. Yeah. So
yeah.
So yeah, but
so it's very short and to the point, but it's very, very funny.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what it is. So there's another one that I definitely recommend going to check out. But but up next we have Celebrity Jeopardy. So it's a classic on Saturday Night Live. So yes, you have Will Ferrell playing Alex Trebek. You have Jimmy Fallon on there playing French Stewart,
doing a great French Stewart impression.
Yeah, like
I cannot understate this. Like it's a great French Stewart impression. Like he gets overshadowed by Burt Reynolds and Sean Connery, but like this impression is spot on. It's great.
Yeah, like the first time that I saw it, like before I even saw this episode, I saw like the best of like Saturday Night Live game shows or like something like that.
Yeah.
Like I remember seeing it and I was like, "Who's playing French Stewart?" I have no idea who that is. I didn't even know it. It was even Jimmy Fallon. Yeah, like he does it so good, he kind of disappears into the character.
Yeah, he's kind of got like his arms like stiffed up, like right next to him, and he's kind of got his eyes squinted, and he's kind of just looking around, Yeah. But no, I mean the open is just so great because it's just the typical exhausted Alex Trebek just going, welcome back to Celebrity Jeopardy. I'd like to remind our guests to please refrain from using ethnic slurs.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Sean Connery is just like, oh, yeah, Trebek with your dago mustache and your greasy hair. He's like, hey, what did I say about ethnic slurs?
Yeah. He's like, let's take a look at the scores. And he's like Sean Connery set a new Jeopardy record with a negative $230,000. They're like, and like when he like says that ethnic slur, he's like, "Look, what did I say about ethnic slurs?" And he's like, "From Third Rock from the Sun, French Stewart in second place with a negative $17,000." Like, "I'm a late bloomer, Alex. I'm in double Jeopardy, and I'm gonna bloom." Or he's like,
"I'm going to bloom."
Yeah. And he's like, and finally, back again, Burt and Reynolds in a commanding lead with $14.
Yeah.
But it's like,
no, this is good. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, that's when he changes his name to Turd Ferguson, just like, hey, check out the podium, look at this. It's like Mr. Reynolds has apparently changed his name to Turd Ferguson. And he's like, yeah, that's right.
Turd Ferguson's a funny
name. Yeah, it's a funny name,
yeah. Wonderful. No, but it's the best because the first time he rings in, he goes, Mr. Reynolds, he goes, that's not my name. And he goes,
that's not my name.
All right, Turd Ferguson. And then he just goes, yeah, what do you want?
Yeah.
You buzzed in. Yeah. He goes, nah, no, I didn't. Yes, you did. That's your opinion.
No, I didn't. Yeah. Yeah, and then like they always go through all the categories, and it's like these like a bunch of ridiculous categories filled with like a couple kind of like really simple ones. So it's like a bunch of where they have like And they always have like potent potables on there for some reason every single time, whatever that
Potent
is.
Potables is just a running gag about like every time it was Potent Potables, and
Yeah,
yeah, but yeah, it's like animal sounds and condiments and words that end in hamburger, things like that. Just nonsense.
But then they have one that's like random. They're like a petite déjeuner or something. They're like that category is
Yeah.
about French phrases. So let's just skip it. And then like French student like French. Oh, that's my name. My name's French.
It's like I know some French. You're an ass by pardon my French. My name's
Yeah.
French. Yeah, who gives a damn?
Yeah, gives a name. Yeah. But yeah, and then let's see. Oh, and then he's just getting frustrated over Burt Reynolds kind of like just going back and forth. But then he's like, why don't you give me the 8 tip for 200? Yeah. He's like, it's not 8 tip, it's a petite J. And he's like, never mind. And he's like, let's just go to animal sounds for 600. He's like, this is the sound that a doggy makes. And then like Sean Connery, he does the whole moo. No. And he's like, well, that was the sound your mother made last night. He always has the like mother jokes. Like
we would have accepted bow wow or rough. Rough, just the way your mother likes it, Trebek.
Yeah.
Just like, ugh. And then Burt Reynolds is like, yeah, give me the condom thing for 8,000.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not condom thing. That's condiments for 600.
And then French Stewart, he just like it's like saying off the wall things. He's like, who is John Cafferty in the Beaver Brown Band? He's like, thank you very much. I'll take animal sounds for 800. Just moves on or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
There's just a great moment when it just like halfway through the sketch when it's just such a Will Ferrell moment where Will Ferrell just looks around as Alex and just goes, "What's going on?" He's just so confused.
What's going on? Yeah.
But they finally get to Final Jeopardy after a whole bunch of shenanigans, and they tell him to draw or to write a number, and French Stewart writes three, a combination of 3 and 5. And then they go to Burt Reynolds and he goes, yeah, don't bother, I didn't write anything. He goes, okay.
Yeah.
And then Sean Connery writes a V, and he says, well, you're in luck because V's are Roman numerals, so despite your best efforts, you answered correctly. And he goes, let's see what you wagered. And it says, suck it, you wreck.
Yeah. Like he just laughing, and he's like, well, it's all the time we have, and like you just hear him laughing as they fade out, and you see also, Burt Reynolds with the oversized hat. He's like, where'd you get the hat? He's like, I found it backstage. The oversized hat. What's funny? He's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
He's like, sure it is. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it is. And just like some random thing. Yeah.
No, and he puts it on top of Will Ferrell's head at the end of the thing, which I believe was an ad lib. But Will Ferrell, being the professional, stayed completely in character and just goes, "You get that off of me!" Yeah. Freaks out. Because usually he just goes, he'll say something to be like, once again, a bunch of charities are deprived of money, or I'm going to go quit my job, or something. When he's just totally exhausted at the end. But I think that was an improv with Norm.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of that one, and then we move into the next one, which is Crosstalk with David Gregory. So you have Chris Parnell playing this kind of like news anchor guy.
It's a real guy, David Gregory. He was an NBC guy. I think he's like an MSNBC guy now. He doesn't have this show anymore, but yeah, he's a real guy. MSNBC. So he's doing an impression, yeah.
And then you have Sherry O'Terry playing Jennifer Lewis. You got Anna Gasteyer that'll come in, which she's kind of one of my favorites from this one, playing Helen Gurley Brown. Then you have Rachel Dratch playing Callista Flockhart. So you just kind of are like talking about like weight epidemics through Hollywood, how like they're like like how a lot of these actresses are like starving themselves and like going to extreme lengths to look skinny, kind of. So
yeah, it's all this stuff about models and because there was a big thing in the late 90s, early 2000s about anorexia and people, these models like not eating anything and looking super, super thin. And like, yeah, Sherry Terry's playing she's like a former model who then she kind of like put back on a little bit of weight. So she got like more of a full figure. And the whole thing is that David Gregory is like really, really into the super skinny, like 50-pound model. Like he thinks it's like the sexiest thing ever when somebody's like 60 pounds. Like he keeps making these innuendos about like how hot they are.
Yeah. Like when Sherry O'Terry comes on as Jennifer Lewis, just like like he asked if the actresses are going to like too extreme of measures, if they're actually too thin. He's like David, they are far too thin. In my opinion, shiny hair. Or no, in her book, she writes a book called "Shiny Hair, Pretty Eyes: Story of a Fat Girl." I talk about the dangers of glamorizing eating disorders. You see, I was a traditional model for years. I was anorexic the whole time, David. It's only after much therapy that I was able to eat again and maintain a healthy self-image. He's like, it's hard to imagine that you were once anorexic, Jennifer, because you're so womanly now. Like such a full figure compared to these actresses.
You're almost chubby.
Yeah, you're almost chubby. Yeah. He's like, okay, thanks. Yes, I'm a plus size model. She's like getting annoyed. But I mean, he's like, you keep saying that now. What is it that you model again? Is it like ponchos or like shoes and berets or like what is it?
She goes yes, and she just goes yes.
Yeah. But then they say also joining us, we have Helen Gurley Brown, a former editor from Cosmopolitan magazine. You see Anna Gasteyer kind of trying to like stretch her neck out to look.
She's kind of like oh, fabulous! I just feel so fabulous. I feel better than I've ever felt before. I'm 77 years old and I weigh 50 pounds.
Yeah. It's like these women, slender women, tiny women, narrow women,
they look beautiful.
Women. There's room for all of us on God's green earth. Yeah.
And she talks about what she ate for lunch that day. She's like, for lunch today, I just gorged myself. I had a scallop and a sweet and low. It was magnificent.
The fact that it's sweet and low, yeah. Yeah, and then you have like just her going back with Shiro Terry, just like no, that amount of food is not enough to sustain a healthy woman. I mean, if you look at my book, David, you'll see pictures of me at the height of my disorder. See how I was miserable. I was 85
He's like,
pounds. And he's like, wow.
Hey, ooh, that's sexy. She's like, yeah, a nurse took that photo when I was in the hospital. He's like, oh yeah, looking good.
My hair was falling out and everything. Yeah. What? He's like, wow. Well, they're great. You know, if you airbrush out the IV, you could post these on the internet. Come on. Yeah.
And they eventually bring on, and by the way, this is Rachel Dratch's first episode. I don't know if you read that, Jordan. This was her very first episode as a feature player. Wow. And so she comes on and she's playing, Calista Flockhart. And the joke is that it's just her head on one of these puppet bodies, it's just flailing around like on sticks, literally. Yeah, it's like something off of that show. It's like something off that show Wienerville, like on Nickelodeon. If you ever watched that,
like when she comes on though, it's just funny when like David Gregory's like, okay, but is your gorgeous, perfect body put unnecessary pressure on fat young women like Jennifer here, and he's like, what pressure on themselves? I want a career and a husband and children. I want passionate sex. I want to be small enough to sleep in an envelope. I'm not asking for too much. I think I'm not right. Wants to skinny enough for an envelope.
Yeah. And they have a caller, and the caller's like, how do they maintain these bodies? And Anna Gasteyer has a funny line where she's like, well, actually I died 6 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I died 6 months ago. Finally at the weight I've always dreamed of, and it's luxurious.
It's luxurious. It's wonderful. Like she keeps putting the strain on. It's wonderful, luxurious, beautiful. Yeah. And then they cut back to Calista Flockhart, and she's in the middle of throwing up. She spits up a bunch of white liquid. She comes back. It's pretty gross. And then
David Gregory's like, well, I think I'm in love. All right, well, let's take a quick break. See you later.
Yeah, right. This is a pretty solid sketch, for what it was. Yeah, I didn't expect a lot out of it, but I liked all of David Gregory's just getting horned up over there because he has some line about I just like your slender body. You just make me feel big or something like that.
Yeah. But then next up we have Norm Macdonald doing the Larry King stuff and it's this is one of the funniest things, but I do think that he has the look down, maybe not the voice 100%, but even so, the way that he delivers it, he's saying things Larry King would actually say, like the type of things, because he would just say these kind of random off the wall things that like didn't really make sense. So they kind of just bring him in for like Larry King's news and views and like there and like he just saying like just like he would like turn to the camera, so like he'd be looking away, and then he just turned. And then he'd be like, if you see one film the rest of your life, it should be Mickey Blue Eyes, or like just really random stuff.
When it comes to window blinds, vertical blinds are terrific, but so are horizontal blinds.
Yeah, right.
And it's all about the delivery, where he's like, so are horizontal blinds.
He's like, has anybody actually died of a heart attack? I mean, really?
Sudden thought, gang. When did sugar diabetes become plain old diabetes?
Yeah. Like, I don't care what anybody says. In my book, Ted Kaczynski is not the Unabomber.
He always throws in these random gang words. So he goes like, I have no tolerance, gang, for anyone who commits arson.
Arson, yeah. Gang, yeah. Or like, the more I think about it, the more I appreciate the equator.
I thought you'd appreciate the one he says, Jordan, because you're a Mormon, where he goes, I don't ever remember seeing a Mormon. Not once. Not ever.
Not ever, yeah.
I don't think Larry King thinks they exist, Jordan.
Yeah, right. But he's like, is it just me, or is anyone else sick and tired of Nelson Mandela? Like,
here's the dirty truth, gang. Poland spring water does not come from Poland.
Yeah. Or like, I interviewed Chile's imprisoned dictator, General Pinochet, last week, and take it from me, guys, the fella has a terrific laugh.
Like looks aside and go, my wish for the new millennium is that we see a lot more of John Larroquette.
Yeah.
It's all just these like, nonsense, like non sequiturs. Yeah. It's just all the most random things, but it's like, because the intro is like, if you're not reading Larry King's news and views, you're missing out on the issues, something like that. Like it's this dramatic voiceover about like you're missing out on something. And he's like, margarine has its place, but nothing beats the real deal. Butter,
yeah. Or like, does anybody actually remember baseball cards?
It's just the most random stuff, but like again, it's all about his delivery, like just like the Lou Gehrig thing. Like it's all about like the pauses he takes and like the inflection and like the jokes. Like this wouldn't work any other way except for with Norm just like deadpanning everything. It's great.
And so that was the end of that sketch, and then we move on to Charlton Heston and the NRA. So they did like a little kind of thing with some real recorded footage, kind of put to like we mixed in with like scenes from like Planet of the Apes and stuff. So
it's basically the TV Funhouse thing, the fun with real audio, where they'll be playing real audio, but they'll be doing like ridiculous cartoon sketch stuff, on screen. Like I thought this was okay at first, but like it kind of went on a little long, and I don't think it was that funny. Like it just kind of went on. Like it's just a whole thing about like it's Charlton Heston like in front of Congress, like talking about guns and like the NRA, but the whole thing is like he's battling the apes, from Planet of the Apes, like while he's shooting guns, like while the audio is going, or there's like an eagle with a gun like flying around, like all kinds of just random imagery. But like I didn't write down a whole lot of this because it was just the real audio with just it's because it's more of a visual thing. It's like it's just like it starts out with like him at a hearing, and it just devolves into like a movie thing, with him and like Tom Selleck talking about guns, and like other people talking about guns. And
some of the real audio, just like him, just like talking gibberish. You have Tom Selleck like I don't know, I don't know. Okay, like what is this? Like it was fine, like, but like it didn't really make me laugh that much. So
but they do a second edition of Larry King's news and views, more of him, the camera, and he was doing these all live. These weren't pre-recorded. Like you tell, he was just like sitting there. In between things, just getting ready. But this case, he's got like a coffee cup, because there's even one in this time where he does the joke, and then he just like takes a long sip of coffee and just kind of stares at the camera for a little while. and then in between jokes, and he goes back to it. But there's more just ridiculous nonsense. He's like, red wine is a terrific wine, but so is white wine.
White wine, yeah. Well, like Like he does a really good job of just like letting the like jokes play out and like letting the laughter
Just
kind of
let him
build and
hang
unfold in
there.
it.
He
You
just
know?
lets
Yeah,
it hang there. Yeah, like he's a master at that.
yeah. Like when he's like, "Does anyone really care if Pakistan has the bomb?"
Now that the population is 6 billion, something tells me, gang, it's only gonna get bigger.
King. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or like he does some jokes to kind of show his age too. He's like, "I'm still not a fan of Fred Astaire."
Yeah, he's dead. He's been dead for a while.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
okay. The more I read about Albert Einstein, the more I realize this guy was a true genius.
yeah, yeah. Or he's like, "Someone ought to tell these high school students that guns aren't safe, gang."
Yeah, and then sudden thought, gang, like a sudden thought,
Yeah,
sudden thought,
that's so
gang. I
dumb.
have no compassion for anyone who commits rape.
Yeah,
It's like,
or like
what?
he's
It's just
or like or it's like nothing is as consistently funny on the tube as the TV show Becker. Like
Becker.
Becker, that's like a horrible
Just
show.
oh no, it's just all just nonsense. But like, it's funny. Like I can see Larry King like actually saying shit like this, which is even funnier. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just it's all in his delivery. Yeah, there's a bit in between where he just takes a long sip of coffee and he's just staring at the screen. Like it's just great. Like it's one again one of those things where some of those jokes that he says just get like no reaction, but he just doesn't care. He just like keeps staring at the camera like with no reaction whatsoever. He
yeah.
just lets it
Like,
sit there.
and one of the things too, if you go into YouTube, they actually have like clips of like him doing it actually in front of Larry King. So like he's like doing
Mhm.
it to Larry King, and then he actually had Larry King on a show like a few times. Like they must have been friends in real life or something because like
Yeah,
the
probably.
back and forth is like so funny because like when Larry King is trying to keep it pretty PC, and then Norm Macdonald's just saying these like really edgy off the wall things on his own show, and like he'll just laugh
Hmm.
along with him. Larry King will, but he was like, I don't think he could say that on like any of my shows, or like, well, you're not gonna get a YouTube deal. I mean, a Netflix deal, like saying any of that stuff or whatever. Yeah, it's just funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
but
we move to the most awkward thing of the night, in my opinion. Weekend update with Colin
yeah,
Quinn and not Norm
yeah,
Macdonald on the Norm
yeah.
Macdonald episode, which is just
They should
strange
have had
because
him come back
like
to
at least read
reprise
a
it. That would have
couple of
been,
them,
yeah,
just
that
or at
would have
least
been
yeah, read
really good.
like come out for a minute and like read a few jokes, but do something because like it was pretty average weekend update. The good thing I like about Colin Quinn is most of the time they don't keep his very long. Like he usually only goes about 3 or 4 minutes, and they
Yeah,
maybe have
this
like
is pretty
a
short.
character show up for a minute and then they cut out. Like they don't do a like they don't stretch out forever. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. Like there wasn't really too much that I really got from it. They had Sherry O'Terry
I
come
didn't
on as like
either.
Marla Maples, who was the former wife of Donald Trump. But even that, I didn't really find really that funny either. I
It
didn't
was
really
just
like
about
that one.
her like being a gold digger. Like that's all it is. Like that she's like, I'm an average playboy chasing creep. Everybody knows that. Something like that. It was just a gold digging thing. There was a joke about the WWF stock going public and how the people who bought it live in exclusive gated communities, and it was a picture of a trailer park, which is
Oh yeah,
funny.
yeah,
But
yeah,
they did
yeah.
have that funny segment about the Weekend Update Millennium, where it was like all the stuff that didn't happen in the Millennium, and it's all these
Oh yeah,
ridiculous things.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
about
Millennium.
about how like Shania Twain and Skeletor like having a war, and then there's like
Yeah,
a kitten performing a heart transplant, and Lucille Ball getting executed by Captain Crunch, like
yeah,
just absolute
yeah,
nonsense,
yeah. Just
just
kind of
silly stuff. Like, it was a kind of funny
off the
little
wall
non
history stuff.
sequitur. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
have a whole lot of the actual jokes. Again, it was weird because I'm just watching this going like you have Norm like right there. If he was just delivering these
Yeah,
jokes, it would probably be funnier. But
yeah,
yeah,
right, right. They should have
so
like even like had them as a duo, like maybe even they could have done that, like kind of like riff off each other, you know. But
yeah.
yeah,
Anyways,
I
but
feel
we'll
Steve's
skip
coming,
to the next one. No, it's all good.
but it's not coming. But wait,
Oh, there it is.
there it is. Okay,
All
but
right.
anyways, yeah. But they had a music performance from Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre performing it Still DRE, which is a good song. Like it's a classic. It's
Oh, dude,
like always
that
on one of my
album that
playlists.
they're doing it off of, the Dr. Dre's Chronic 99 album,
Yeah,
is a great album, top
yeah,
to
that is
bottom.
a
Like
great. Yeah,
really, really good hip hop album, top to bottom. And
yeah,
yeah,
like one
this
of the best.
and Forgot About Dre, which they do later. I was actually
Yeah,
able to look up the performances from this. They were on Daily Motion, so I was actually able to watch them. But yeah, like it's great. Like that whole album is money. So yeah,
yeah,
I actually didn't mind watching the musical performances this time. They weren't on the
yeah.
episode there. I had to look them up on Daily Motion, but they were on there.
Okay.
And same
Yeah.
speaking of Daily Motion, the next sketch I had to watch on Daily Motion as well because for some reason it's not. Well, I kind of know the reason. I kind of think I know the reason, but it wasn't on the Peacock
Oh,
version.
perfect. Like
The
Ghostbusters song.
toothbrushers. Yeah, yeah, because
They're
the
playing it.
Ghostbusters song is like playing the whole time. Yeah, so they probably had to edit it out.
But yeah, like going back to just real quick to just touch on
Hmm.
the like Snoop Dogg and like Dr. Dre stuff.
Hmm.
Like I probably have a good like 90% of that the entire album almost memorized word for word. Like I could sing all those
Oh
songs. I'm
yeah.
not gonna do it
No, I
here,
can do the Forgot
but
About
yeah,
Dre song all the
yeah,
time and still DRE. Like, yeah, no,
yeah,
that album is great. Those songs are great. There's some real good ones on there. Yeah. Really, really
yeah,
great.
yeah. But getting into the toothbrushers, you have Sherry Terry and Norm Macdonald just kind of coming to the door while kids are trick or treating on Halloween. And they come in and do this little toothbrushers dance to this I said some Ghostbusters music and like just doing a little dance and everything. And then but like behind the scenes, every time that they like shut the door, they're like arguing, like we're having like some really intense argument. But they're like, come on, they're like, oh cute. We've got a lot of treats for you tonight, but Dr. McMullins and I have something we'd like to say, and then they're like doing the
Yeah.
little thing.
It'll be like they did a couple of them, but one of them was like, if you're not okay with tooth decay, who are you gonna call? Toothbrushers. And the whole thing is she's wearing like a tooth outfit. He's wearing like a toothbrush outfit. So the whole thing is she won't
Yeah,
stay still for him to brush her like at the door,
yeah, the
which is what
brush.
they were trying to do like a bit. And so that's how like the argument starts. He's just like,
Yeah,
when they close the door, I could get my my secretary Cheryl on the phone and she can be over here 20 minutes and do this thing properly. She's
yeah,
just like,
yeah,
oh my God, you don't have the balls.
yeah. It's like, well, Colleen, when I make my entrance, can you hold still, so I can brush you properly? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he's like, I just can't do anything right for you, can I, Dawn? They're just like going
Yeah.
back and forth. Yeah,
And he's like, I'll call Cheryl. She's just like, you don't have the balls to call Cheryl. And just like, and there's something bit about like, I'm not going to call you DDS after your name or something. And
yeah,
he's just
yeah.
like, you
Well,
don't mind the DDS after putting it on my checks, you money grubbing whore,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Where he's like,
money grubbing maggot.
yeah, yeah. And he's like, oh, really, Colleen? Is that would you tell all your man hating friends in your Pilates class that that uh, that Don McMullen DDS is a big fat coward?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then going back and forth, like Sherry Terry had a good line where she's like, "Oh, I rue the day I uncrossed my legs for you." I thought that was a funny line. And
When
so
she
like
starts like,
everybody, they always start getting into it, and they always get interrupted by like the doorbell because like more kids at the door, and they got to go do their little like Ghostbusters
yeah.
dance like spiel.
It was like one part where she's smoking a cigarette. She's like, "No, Don, I never say DDS after your stupid name, you dumbass."
Yeah.
Yeah.
After they do another like dance bit, and they come back in, and she's like taking a sip of a drink, and he's like, "Oh, I see the 3 o'clock drugs must have worn off, but I'll go and get the rehab bed ready, although it's probably still warm from the last time you went."
Yeah.
She's just
And
like,
he's
"God
well,
damn you!" It's like, "Damn you,
yeah.
Don!" She throws the phone out the window, all kinds of shit.
Yeah, she's like, we're like, well, I guess I'll make a phone call. He's like, what the hell you doing? He's like, I'm calling Cheryl, you incompetent hag. But it's funny because they're like getting into it, but like I don't know if it's really Norm Macdonald really breaking character, but he's kind of smiling through it. I don't know if that's part of it. It makes it
I
kind
think
of
he's just
funnier
smiling because like the lines
yeah,
are funny. Like the lines like that
yeah,
he's delivering are just genuinely like so outlandish, like that they're funny. Like he picks up a thing and he's like, she's like, you better not break that down. He's like, oh, that's my mom's Halloween cat. It's like some cat thing, and he like throws it down and like smashes it, and then she like
oh
goes
yeah,
to
let's
the
smash
stairs
it
and
down.
she
Yeah,
takes his he's got like a salmon on the wall, like mounted on the wall. And he's just like, and she breaks it. He's like, hey, that's my salmon, you fire breathing whore.
Yeah.
They're just going back and forth. It's so silly, but like it's really damn funny. Like again, it's
Yeah.
all about the delivery for the most part, but that's what makes it funny.
Yeah. One of the things is like okay, well I finished polishing off this drink. You can log on to your internet porn, right? Toothman 214 or whatever.
Your internet porn.
Porn.
Like, God
Yeah.
damn it.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is that like he gets arrested at the end, but then she totally goes into mode where she's like, I love him so much.
I love him
like
so much,
they'll take
yeah.
my husband, they'll take my husband away. She's just like clamoring for him. But yeah,
like
it's good stuff. I had to watch it on Daily Motion. It wasn't on the Peacock episode, but I do recommend it. It's pretty damn funny.
Yeah. Well, you have a little quick cameo. They have Will Ferrell and Tracy Morgan playing the two cops.
It's Tracy Morgan's only appearance, like the whole show. It's weird.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Like,
is this your phone, Mr. McMullen? It flew into a parked car or something, and they just like take them all. They take them away to jail. Yeah. Yeah. But the next one up, that's the end of that one. We went to Michael Jackson in the bar. So it's Tim Meadows playing Michael Jackson.
And I didn't get to see that one. That one, it's you know what's funny? It's on the description of the episode when you pull it up on Peacock, but it's not in the episode, which is weird.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like it was funny, but it wasn't really that funny. Like it wasn't one of the strongest ones, but it's kind of funny. We get Michael Jackson just coming into the bar, just like telling the bartender all of his problems while he's drinking Jack Daniels. And he's like, and I was like, listen, I read in the paper about you divorcing your wife. You know, I'm really sorry to hear that. And then Tim Meadows, he was talking like the high pitched Michael Jackson voice. He's like, yeah, tell me about it. I love her so much. I miss the little things, the sound of her laughter, the smell of her perfume, spending all day in the afternoon together polishing the Elephant Man's bones, and he starts crying. He's just bringing up just random things or whatever. Yeah, and then Norm kind of just alludes to the fact that like Michael Jackson, the normal one, and all the women that he dates are the crazy ones. So, but like Tim Meadows just keeps going on about his wife though. He's like, if any man tries to steal my wife, I'll track the son of a bitch down. I'll kill him. And I'll bury him beneath the llama's cage. Because he has all these like ridiculous things like on his property.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's all nonsense on the Neverland Ranch. He got all the stupid stuff he had that made him go broke. Just all the ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, but like that one thing where they're like, it was like see, I love her so much that I have her name tattooed on my arm. And he pulled up the on one of his sleeves, and like Norm's like, oh, it says Macaulay there. He's like, whoops, that's the wrong arm. Here's the right arm. He's like Debbie. All right, Debbie. Yeah. And then he's like the night that we conceived our first child, I handed the nurse to the specimen cup, and I said to the nurse, I says to her, I just made a baby, and I love you, Debbie. And then like takes a shot, but doing like the whole like I says to you, I says. Yeah.
Well, that's a Norm thing. Like, so that was Tim Meadows just doing a Norm thing as MJ. I said, okay. And Norm, we used to always have these like random sketches where you'd be like, I says to the guy, I says to him, I says to the guy, I says to him. Like that's a Norm thing. He was just doing like a tribute to him real quick because Norm isn't really like, he's just the bartender, right? So like he's not really in the sketch that much.
All right. But
yeah,
the Norm's like, well, you must really miss your kid. And he's like, no, I've got custody of them. They're in good hands. Latoya and my monkey are watching over them. And then you have Jimmy Fallon come in for like 2 seconds playing some kind of rocker that's like drinking, like he starts kind of.
He was supposed to be Howard Stern, but he didn't make that clear.
He was. Oh yeah, they didn't really make it clear. Like he just kind of came in like sort of like a weird accent. It was something like one of the Beatles or something. But
I think it was a last minute thing. Like I think from what I read, the dress rehearsal was not the same character, and then they switched it to they asked him to do Howard Stern, even though he went on to do the Howard Stern impression later in the show, because he there's a famous one where he's like auditioning for Regis and Kathy Lee or something like that, and he auditions for it, so he plays him. But so I know he would do it eventually, but I think it was like a last minute thing, so maybe he just didn't have it down yet.
Because they just kind of like he like comes out and starts talking to Michael Jackson, and then like right after they just fade out and that sketch is done.
Yeah, that's literally it.
Yeah, but then we have a musical performance. They sing "Forgot About Dre," which we mentioned earlier, and then you get to Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton, which is like a class.
Yeah, well, this is the first, and this is the first James Lipton Inside the Actors Studio on here too. This is the very first one, because I know he would go on to do the ones with like Alec Baldwin playing Charles Nelson Riley, or Tobey Maguire playing Dustin Diamond, or I think what's her name? Kate Hudson playing Drew Barrymore, I know, is a funny one too. Like, they were all pretty good. But yeah, this is the first one, and it's Norm playing Clint Eastwood. So they're actually doing like, it's funny because they would like when they do the ones with like Dustin Diamond, they turn it into like James Lipton honoring people who like would never have an episode of Inside the Actors Studio ever.
Yeah, right.
but Clint Eastwood was actually legit on Inside the Actors Studio on one of the earliest episodes. So I think it was around this time, so they just did a takeoff of that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like basically though, you kind of have Will Ferrell doing the like James Lipton almost kind of deadpan, kind of with like the eyes that are kind of glazed over, and he's kind of leaning back in his chair. He's all stiff and stuff, and like he does a weird laugh, ha 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 ha.
And he's got the exaggerated stack of index cards. It's about a foot high off the table. It's about like 8,000 cards just stacked up, of all of his questions. Because on the show he would famously have like a little stack of, probably 200 cards or something. But like on this one, he's got about 1,000 of them just stacked up.
Yeah, and he's like talking about like you have worn many hats over your illustrious career, Mr. Eastwood. Which one would you say is your most cherished? Is it that of an actor, that of a director, and then
actor, director, screenwriter, performer?
Yeah, right.
Stuntman, choreographer. And he goes, I believe it's that of a director. As a director, and then James Lipton just cuts him off and goes to the next question before he can answer.
Yeah, like because like Clint Eastwood's kind of known for like telling the
longest stories ever,
like all the time. Yeah, like him. But he's like, Clint, you grew up in Depression era California, where your parents were itinerant workers. After high school, he worked as a lumberjack, played honky-tonk piano, and was a swimming instructor in the U.S. Army. How did this shape you as an actor? He goes, I believe the Army gave me discipline,
and taking that discipline, in 1966, he just cuts him off again. You can see he's getting pissed off. He's like, a film that would transform you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. A film that would say, this is Clint Eastwood.
It like brings up the like French pronunciation. He's like, El bueno, el Alberto, el cativo. Like, otherwise known as the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah.
But when he finally lets him answer, he's like, oh, well, Mr. Lipton, I've got a story for you. It's about this fella who poked his nose where it didn't belong. While he was sleeping one night, a neatly trimmed beard. Fella, while he was sleeping, I kicked his teeth right down his throat. He woke up the next morning and realized that someone has kicked his teeth. And it's this whole long story about him just beating him up. Basically, he goes, "Now, what do you think of that?" And he goes, "Delightful,
delightful." He's like, every once in a while, an actor creates a role that touches us in such a way. God Himself says, "Bravo." That role for me was that of Hogan in Two Mules for Sister Sarah. In my opinion, one of the greatest roles ever to be captured on film. But like, I don't know, like that's one of his more obscure movies. I've never heard of that movie. So.
I know Two Mules for Sister Sarah, but it's not one of his most celebrated roles out there. It's not.
Yeah, he was like, that's a hell of an opinion. I've got an opinion of my own. You really like the sound of your own voice, don't you? And he just like starts laughing again. And he's like, finally, if heaven exists,
It
what
goes,
would
it's
you?
time for the
Yeah,
dreaded questionnaire invented by
yeah, good
Bernard
job.
Bivot of apostrophe.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive? He's like,
That
well,
James
yeah,
Lipton's in hell right now, being
no,
raped by the devil.
but the devil, yeah,
I
heavenly
believe that
dove
would
in my
hit
ears,
hit me here just fine.
yeah, yeah, like, you're just fine, yeah. He asks him if he has any final words, and he's like, and then he's like, well, sir, I met some goddamn dirty sons of bitches in my time, and I've met some dirty goddamn sons of bitches. But you, sir, are without a doubt the goddamnedest dirtiest son of a bitch I've ever met. He's like eloquently put, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eastwood.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
also asked him, "What's your least favorite word?" And he goes, "Neatly trimmed beard."
Oh yeah, neatly trimmed beard. Yeah, yeah,
But it's good stuff. Yeah, it's a good debut for the Inside the Actor Studio. Like, if we do our SNL impressions, I'm pretty sure Will Ferrell's James Lipton will be on that list in
yeah.
contention. Because damn, that his
One of
whole
his
thing is
best.
just so funny. Yeah, it's one of his
Yeah,
best. He's great.
yeah. But then you have the final sketch of the night. It was a commercial parody, a chess for girls is what it is.
It's
So,
a commercial from 2 seasons ago.
oh, it is.
An old
They
just
replayed it.
repeat. I think they were
Okay.
just filling in time. I think they just had like a 2 minute slot to fill in some time, so they just like replayed a
Okay.
thing. Yeah, because this is literally from like 1997. This
Okay.
is old. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean the whole thing is just it's dolls for chess pieces, and the chess pieces come in a van. Like it's like a Barbie set chess thing. It's like chess for girls, chess for girls. You know, it's just one of
Yeah,
these
they're singing
silly
like a song
things.
that like you would hear in like a typical Barbie ad
Hmm.
or something. Yeah, they're like,
There's a better version of this. Do you remember the doll commercial? And it was the little pound cake, and but the doll had like a needle for the HPV vaccine. Do you
oh
remember
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Little pound cake, little pound cake, and
Okay.
she's
Yeah.
gonna protect your daughter against HPV, and she like sticks out the needle, and then folks is like, "Ow, she got me, mommy," shit like that. Like that's
Yeah.
a better version of this, like they would do later. The little
Yeah,
pound
because this
cake.
one is when it's like it shows like the girls playing chess against the boys, and they're like chess for girls. This is stupid. Chess is for boys or whatever. And then
Hmm.
it just like shows all these chess pieces and they have long hair that they can brush and they're like braiding it. And they're like, ooh, it smells like strawberries. Like chess is a classic game of strategy and bubbles and they're like blowing bubbles out
Yeah,
of it and
I
stuff.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny in concept. I just think they've done stuff like this just a little bit better. Like even the stuff like Litter Critters is funnier.
Oh
If
yeah,
you
the
remember
little
that
critters.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's time
Yeah,
for
that's right.
Litter
The
Critters. Just
critters.
like
Yeah.
yeah, like stuff like that's
Really
funnier.
cool.
This
Yeah.
is definitely early stuff that I think they just had a time gap they had to fill in, so they just reran this out of the archives. It was like how they
Oh yeah.
ran in the early 90s. If you watch any given episode of SNL, you're most likely going to see the oops, I crap my pants thing because they ran that
Oh
into
yeah.
the ground after it
Yeah.
originally aired. Same with Schmidt's Gay. Like they would just run those two
Yeah.
into the ground.
But even so, those are
Mm.
two of the best. But
Oh,
so
yeah.
they
They're still
replayed them. Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
but they ran them a lot. Yeah.
but that'll pretty much do it for the episode though. So
Hmm. Good episode. Go watch it.
yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Norm is awesome. All of his stuff with the Lou Gehrig thing, the Larry King stuff is funny. Him as Clint Eastwood and the James Lipton thing is funny. Like there's a lot of highs on this episode. It's really really good. It's a good showcase for Norm, and his
The
monologue is funny
monologue too.
too.
Like yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
Uh-huh.
lot of like really good stuff. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. But like now we just kind of want to just like talk about some of our favorite Norm Macdonald moments, whether it be some of his movies, some of his characters, some of his stand up and like jokes that he told, some stuff from Weekend Update, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, we
Yeah.
just kind of
Um,
wrote down
we'll
some of
go into
them.
the weekend update in a second. There was one thing I found that was funny. If you remember when Conan lost the Tonight Show and then he went to TBS,
Yeah.
well, when Norm went on there on like it was either like his last show or his like second whatever. It was on the last week he was doing the Tonight Show, and it was like he brought this gift basket, and he goes, well, I meant to give this gift basket to you when you first got it, but now you're getting fired. But I'm still gonna give it to you anyway. And he goes, I had a card I wrote in there at the time. And he goes, and he starts reading the card, and of course it's just total Norm delivery. He's just like, "Dear Conan, the new permanent host of the Tonight Show." That is something that they can never take away from you. Sure, the pressure is on, but miserable failure is not an option. It's just a total Norm moment. Like, it was just so appropriate for Conan, like, because Conan would have him on all the time, and he would just it's where he did his mock joke. If you haven't seen his mock joke, go look that up, because that's really funny. I mean, there's the classic stuff. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, those two super long and kind of like convoluted jokes that he does on the Conan show, like he always comes on to like doing. I actually put a couple of links down in the description of this video, and you can watch them because it's like too long for us to kind of be able to repeat.
Oh yeah, we can't recap it, but it's really funny.
But he goes on every time for like 4 or 5 minutes, just like telling these kind of crazy stories that just go on and on and on. Like Conan's like sitting there waiting for the punchline, and he'll start laughing and be like, "Oh, all right." Because there's more to this, and just keeps going and going. Yeah.
Yeah. There's always compilations of him like saving interviews, because he'll be like sitting there after he's been the first guest, and he'll just be sitting. Like, there was one there was a girl who was in that movie Chairman of the Board with Carrot Top, and she's just like, oh, you're in a movie with Carrot Top? I know what it should be called. Box Office Poison. Conan's just like, she's sitting right here. She's in the movie. Like, come on, Norm, be respectful. He's like, I'm sorry. You know, what's the real title? And she's like, oh, it's called Chairman of the Board. And Conan's like, haha, you do something with that, Norm. And Norm goes, wait. I bet the name of the movie is spelled Bored.
Yeah, Bored.
and
I'll like crack
Conan
up,
just
like they get a
dies.
big laugh from Conan.
Oh my god! Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Like, even in the chat here, so we have Brian just like sharing one of his favorite things. He was in Billy Madison, so it's like when I graduated first grade, all my dad did was tell me to get a job.
Yeah.
Like after first grade, yeah.
Yeah.
But like one of the things that I did is I rewatched Dirty Work for this. So
yeah, me too.
I wrote like some of my like favorite things, like you have the like beginning thing where they're like talking about when he's a kid, and they had like a creepy crossing guard, and he'd always be like grabbing the kids' butts, but then he puts like super glue on it. The guy is like hand is like stuck to him. He's like, look, everybody, crossing guard's grabbing an 8-year-old's ass over here. He's like, we really got back at this ornery babysitter that we didn't like after all these years. This picture still makes me horny or something. He's like, wistful. It makes me wistful. Yeah.
My favorite bit is the bit where they get arrested, and so him and Artie Lang are sitting in the like the county jail, and these guys just casually go over to Norm Macdonald, and they just tell him to get up, like they're gonna lead him over to basically be raped in the shower. And so they just take him away casually, like they just like walk him over there. And then like it cuts to like another thing, and he comes back, and he's not like wincing or anything, or just, you know, he's just standing there, and he turns around, and the camera kind of pulls back, and he just starts doing this monologue. And I pulled it up. It's just so funny because he goes, "You fellas have a lot of growing up to do. I'll tell you that. Ridiculous, completely ridiculous. Can you believe these characters? Way out of line. We get mine to go to the warden about this. You know what hurts the most? It's the lack of respect. You know, that's what hurts the most. Well, except for the other thing that hurts the most, but the lack of respect, that's what hurts the most. Ridiculous. It's just a total just nonsense, like Norm Macdonald monologue, but it's great.
Yeah. Well, like, speaking of that, actually, so like my favorite joke Norm Macdonald ever I did, and I actually wrote it down. It's a little long, but I want to read it just because like it just is like such a good joke that that scene they just mentioned, Austin, it's actually based off of a character where Norm Macdonald appeared on Weekend Update when Kevin Nealon was and he kind of did it in like even more detail, where like talks about all the rape and everything, and it's just like, oh, this is so good. So like basically he's like they like bring him on as the correspondent, And he's like, I've always been afraid of going to prison. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I realized what scares me the most about going to prison isn't the loss of freedom or the stigma or even the separation from family. For me, the scariest thing about going to prison is, it's the anal rape. He's like,
Yeah.
it always kind of puzzled me that they never touch on that during the sentencing. Worst part of the whole deal, and the judge doesn't even mention it. Like he's like, there's probably guys that probably go to prison and they don't even realize what's in store for them because they're not as streetwise as you and me. He's like, you can imagine that you're sent to prison. It's the first night there, and that there's anal rape thing going there. Then the next day you get to see the guy in the prison cafeteria, and you're like, hey buddy, I got a bone to pick with you, pal. Let me tell you something. You were way out of line there. You're way out of line. Ridiculous. How would you feel like if I did something like that to you? How would that be? No, you wouldn't like that too much, would you? No. Let me just say that was one of the most selfish, inconsiderate things I've ever been involved with. What were you thinking? Or were you even thinking? I mean, what's gotten into you? I turn my back on you and you pull a stunt like that. It's ridiculous. I tried to tell you that last night, but you wouldn't listen to me. No, you wouldn't listen, would you? I have a good mind to go to the warden about this, and it's crazy. You know what hurts the most, pal? I trusted you. Well, actually, the anal rape hurts the most, but trusting you was a distant second. I'll tell you that. You know what? I'm so angry I can't even talk now. And he's like, leave. But like, man, that is like one of the funniest jokes I've ever heard him tell. Like it's like probably hands down my favorite. Like it's so good.
Yeah, the Dirty Work's funny, man. Like
yeah.
If you haven't gone back to watch it, it's on HBO Max right now. Like it was really underrated. It's pretty well written. It's like 80 minutes. I mean, you're in and out. Jack Warden as his dad is like really funny. Because I had pulled up one of his quotes where he just keeps talking about the whores, and like he keeps going like, "Did you bring me a whore?" Did you bring me a whore yet? And then and then he's like, he's talking about when he was having sex with his mom. He's like, back then we didn't have these fancy birth control methods like pulling out.
What?
It's so absurd. But like it's a funny, it's a really funny movie.
About something dirty for 1 second? Come on, get a hold of yourself, man. Or whatever. Yeah. Or like, there's a scene where they're getting in a fight with a bunch of guys from a frat house, but then afterwards, though, because they get their asses kicked, but they like pull this prank on him where they call him up and they pretend to be one of his friends, and he's like, these guys going around to frat houses pretending to be cops, but they're not real cops. They're fake cops. They just robbed a bunch of stuff in the Delta Psi house. So don't be fooled. All right. And then he's like, all right, thanks for calling and letting us know. And then he like picks up the phone. He's like, hello, real cops? Yes, I'd like to register a complaint. We got a complaint about noise or something. So it's like real cops.
Well, and also when he's getting off with the frat guy, he goes, now you go back to doing something latently homoerotic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it fools them, so when they come over, they like try and beat the hell out of the cops. So yeah.
Yeah, and they get their asses kicked. No, I mean it's a good movie, man. It's good. I wrote down a lot of his. I've got a couple of his weekend update jokes.
Oh yeah.
Just some quick ones. We can just kind of go back and forth with some of these. But yeah, like he did a whole bunch of funny ones, like stuff. There's literally whole compilations of all the ones he did about O.J. Simpson, which are all funny.
Yeah.
I mean, just like the non sequitur stuff he did, where he would just do the Frank Stallone jokes, where he'd just be like, there's a new study out that's saying, the so and so economy, of California is down for these particular reasons, but he goes, but the real reason, you guessed it, Frank Stallone, just being completely nonsensical, but he would always do that. But he would do another story, and then at the end of it, just like there's a compilation of it, he would just be like, or so the Germans would have us believe. And it just would make no sense to what he was talking about. But it was great. But if you got one, you can start with one. You go first if you want.
Yeah, well, like there's one where he's like a new airport plan for San Diego would actually be located 3 miles out in the Pacific Ocean, built on giant 40 by 20-foot floating cylinders. It's all part of a plan by the city's officials to have a huge disaster, and they just hold
Yeah.
it.
There's Stedman, Oprah's boyfriend, has a new book called "You Can Make It Happen," and inside the book, Chapter 1, "Become Oprah's Boyfriend."
Yeah. We can come up with, yeah, or he has one about a Frenchman who called himself the Snake Man. He's like he was arrested this week after climbing up the side of a Manhattan high rise. Yep, he climbed right up the side of a high rise, just like a
snake.
A snake, and he just holds it there. He's like, okay. Yeah. But you see the guy, look, I picture him almost kind of like trying to slither up the side of the building or something.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah.
The Food and Drug Administration announced today that 1 ounce of Special K with 4 ounces of milk is a great dietary source of protein. However, 1 ounce of Special K with 5 ounces of milk, deadly poison.
Yeah. That's so good. Yeah. Or music news. Dr. Jack Kevorkian has formed and recorded a 1-hour CD of jazz compilations for the flute. You know, Dr. Kevorkian, I've listened to your CD, and I've got some advice for you. Don't quit your day job. All right, murdering old people. Stick with that. Stay away from the flute and stick to the murdering old people. Just my advice.
Well, speaking of the flute, Jordan, Kenny G has a Christmas album out this year. Hey, happy birthday, Jesus. Hope you like crap.
Yeah. So good. Yeah. Or speaking of some more musicians, earlier today, the biggest auction ever of Beatles memorabilia took place in Tokyo. Among one of the one-of-a-kind items on the block were Paul McCartney's birth certificate, a white Mercedes-Benz owned by John Lennon, and rarest of all, a photo of George Harrison not looking haggard. Like, what the fuck?
It's like, what? I'm pretty sure that one was one of those like ones that kind of bombed, and he was just sat there and just looked at the crowd for a little while, like 5 seconds. Well, you were talking about airports and airlines recently, Jordan. Well, airline travelers' complaints have risen 22% over the last year. The single most common complaint was they lost my baggage, followed closely by I didn't like being in that fiery plane crash.
Yeah. Yeah, or you have Norm Macdonald kind of commenting on the custody battle over 2 children between a woman and a man who was transitioning into a woman. Gee, I wonder who's going to win this case. The mother of the 2 children, or the guy who had his penis twisted into a fake vagina? Oh, gee, that's a tough call. You got a guy who fashioned the vagina, and then you got the mother. So,
yeah. Well, a new study, Jordan, says that people who quit smoking have healthier lungs. Yet another groundbreaking medical story from the pages of the journal Duh.
Yeah. Yeah, or actress Ellen DeGeneres and lover Anne Heche have announced that they want to have a baby. However, they're planning to hit a snag. They're both women. It is not possible.
Well, Jordan, switching over to O.J. Simpson news. This week in the O.J. Simpson trial, the infamous bloody glove was finally introduced into evidence. And O.J. certainly didn't help his case out by blurting out, "There it is. I've been looking all over for that thing."
Yeah. So good. Yeah, or a sad story from the world of entertainment this week. Talk show host Ricky Lake had to get rid of her dog Dudley after the pooch became too aggressive for her 7-month-old son Milo. A clearly saddened Ricky Lake said, "It broke my heart to get rid of the dog, but he was delicious. She ate a whole dog. Come on."
In other showbiz news, it's reported that superstar Madonna is pregnant. Although personally, I find this a bit hard to believe. I mean, Madonna isn't even married. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, right. yeah. Or in London, British scientists created a frog embryo without a head, a breakthrough that could lead to the production of headless human clones to provide organs and tissues for human transplant, as well as horrific nightmares for the rest of my life. It's like, I can't deal with this stuff anymore.
Our top story tonight comes from the O.J. Simpson civil trial, where this week it was revealed that in his first interview with police, Simpson had refused to take a lie detector test. His reason? It detects lies.
Yeah. So good. Oh man, yeah. Or getting into some more OJ stuff. According to retailers, the most popular Halloween mask this year is OJ Simpson. The most popular Halloween greeting is I'll kill you and the guy who's bring over your glasses or treat.
Or treat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. According to a new medical study, exposure to secondhand smoke dramatically increases a non-smoker's risk of getting heart disease and lung cancer. Jubilant tobacco executives said the new study proves without a shadow of a doubt that non-smoking can kill you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or in his new book, O.J. Simpson says that he would have taken a bullet or stood in front of a moving train for a call. Man, I tell you, that is some bad luck when the one guy who would have died for you kills you.
Recent probes sent from the Galileo space probe orbiting Jupiter's moon Europa suggest that it meets conditions necessary to support a primitive form of life. Just what kind of primitive form? You guessed it. Frank Stallone.
Yeah, it's all those Frank Stallone jokes. Yeah.
Oh, dude, just his. Oh my God! If you guys want to have a good time, just go online and look up Norm Macdonald Weekend Update, and like, there's so many compilations out there of just him, just deadpanning all this stuff, and like, you will laugh for hours. Like, I just had a great time, like, going and like writing all this stuff down. Like, it's so funny. Like, he was just the best. Like, and you can tell, like some of those are all just about his delivery and like the punchline and just the deadpan. Like, it's great.
Yeah, like one of my favorite ones I want to mention where it says, "Well, O.J. Simpson's lawyers stopped feuding this week. The dream team of Appley Bailey and Robert Shapiro were able to put aside their differences and express admiration for each other after O.J. threatened to cut their heads off." Yeah.
There was a famous thing where Norm was at the ESPY Awards back in like 1998 or 1999, and he was doing like this kind of monologue and doing jokes, and Charles Woodson was in the crowd, and he goes, "Man, what a season he had, Charles Woodson, Defensive Player of the Year, Heisman Trophy winner. And listen, that's just something that they can never ever take away from you. I mean, unless you kill your wife, and then they can't take it away from you. So." Don't try not to do that. Try not to do that.
Yeah.
And just the whole crowd was just like, oh, because they took away OJ's Heisman, like after all that stuff. And yeah, it was not good.
Yeah. But or they have one where they're like Judge Ito was interviewed this week by local TV stations in Los Angeles. Asked by the interviewer if it was appropriate for a supposedly impartial judge to be on TV with his case still pending, Ito said, "Maybe not, but how appropriate is it to kill your ex-wife?"
There was one where it was like, I don't remember the exact wording, but it was like, Judge Ito this week forbade the Goldman family from being live in the courtroom during the murder trial. And it's a good break for O.J. Simpson, because it would have reminded him of how much more murdering he still has to do.
Yeah. But like, I don't know if you ever watch any of like the Norm Macdonald show too. Like, he has some pretty good jokes over there too from the Norm Macdonald show.
Oh,
Yeah,
like his YouTube show that he would do, or like that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
he had a YouTube show, and then for a
I,
little bit, it was actually
I
on
watched some
Netflix too.
compilation. I was watching compilations, but I didn't write anything down for this one. But yeah, there was some funny stuff where you just be reading jokes on there, or making his guests read the bad jokes.
Yeah,
just deadpanning everything.
well, that's one of the funniest things is like all the bad jokes because you know they're bad going in, so you're just waiting to hear all
Hmm.
these like horrible jokes. Like there's like really cheesy jokes. Like here's one of them where it's like I can't stand stuck up bodies of water. It's like get over yourself, Lake Superior or whatever. Just really cheesy, like just bad joke. Or like trying to imagine how different our world would be if Mumford had remained childless, like a joke about Mumford and Sons or something.
Yeah.
Just kind of just these cheesy jokes. We had a couple of pretty good ones that weren't as cheesy. Like he had one that was, hey, for the ninth consecutive year, JetBlue Airlines ranked first for satisfaction among all North American airlines. But you know what ranked least in satisfaction? 9/11 Airlines. I mean, what a terrible name for an airline. Reminds me of that horrible tragedy. I mean, come on.
What a terrible name for an airlines.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, or he has one.
I just sorry, I looked up another thing of some of his jokes. I'll just
Oh, yeah.
go with another quick one where he goes,
Yeah.
I once walked in on my parents having sex. It was the most embarrassing 30 minutes of my life.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny when he has some of his guests read some of them. Like he has Billy Bob Thornton on there, and like he has him read this one. So it says a new study shows that most people can identify a gay man by his face alone. It's the face that's buried in another man's asshole that's hard to identify. And then he just like loses it. He just is like laughing. He's like, "What the frick am I reading?" Because they don't know what's going to be on there. They just have to read it. It's just yeah. Or like he had
Because
one. Oh,
he would do one where he
yeah,
goes, when it comes to Hitler, the more I learn about the guy, the more I don't care for him.
yeah, right. Yeah, it almost sounds like one of the Larry King things or something.
Yeah, it's like one of the Larry King
Yeah,
things, like the Albert
yeah,
Einstein
yeah,
thing. The more I realize he's a genius.
yeah, yeah. Or the Al Qaeda online magazine Inspire has a recipe for a homemade bomb. We also have a pretty darn good recipe for a peach cobbler. It's just like what? Yeah. But like he makes people kind of read like even some of the like more kind of edgier jokes. Like he has
Oh
one
yeah.
that's like where's like where's like this one's kind of more of a factoid, but he's like Danny DeVito looks like one of those guys with a short but thick penis. And like if you think about it, yeah, that's very true. Yeah,
He had a joke where he goes, I don't particularly care for sex. I find it an embarrassing dull exercise. I prefer sports where you have a chance of winning.
yeah. Right. Yeah, or Las Vegas is now home to a 550-foot tall Ferris wheel, also drawing thousands of to Las Vegas whores. But like when he said it though, he
Yeah.
has Ray Romano read it. He's the one that's like reading it.
Yeah.
So if you picture Ray Romano saying that, yeah, yeah. Or like he even has one where that makes him like jokes against women, kind of like I mean.
Mhm.
They're just jokes. I don't think he really has anything against women, but he's like, I'm thankful for women. I think they're the greatest creatures on earth. I think women are more intelligent than men. Also, without women, there would be no cookies. It's like okay, yeah. Or like he even kind of goes back and forth about his weight gain. Like he kind of like had a couple of years where he like gained a little bit of weight. So he's like, look, he's going back and forth with a couple of guests. He's like, do you know that I gained a bunch of weight? Yeah, I gained 45 pounds in a role for a movie. And then one of the guys is like, what was the role? Like would you be portraying Jackie Gleason? He's like, no, I just figured they would need a big fat guy for a movie. Turns out they don't. A lot of was like, there's a lot of fat guys wandering around Hollywood that are much better actors than me.
Yeah.
Kind of poking fun in like his own weight and stuff.
Yeah, he had some joke similarly about Hollywood where he's just like, Hollywood's really great. Like you could be like, hey, do you want to be a really bad actor for a living? Yeah, let me jump right on that or something. You know, just like one joke where you can just be really bad at it and still have a career.
Yeah, I got one. Where it's like, do you remember that movie, The Last of the Mohicans? Like, I remember when the movie came out, they had a big protest. Apparently, they weren't using any actual Mohicans. I mean, come on. It's like well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Or he has one where it's like, I've noticed that the term adult toy always refers to something you can shove up your asshole and never like a big race car, like for grown-ups or something, like an adult toy, come on.
Yeah.
Or like one of the ones, this might be one of my last couple ones, but he's like, I think there's nothing cooler than being a lone wolf, except at the wolf picnics when you don't have a partner for the wolf wheelbarrow races. And like he had Billy Bob Thornton read that one too, but that one kind of reminded me like one of the Deep Thoughts by Jack Handey.
Yeah.
Like that.
Deep Thoughts with Jack Handey.
Yeah.
And now Deep Thoughts with Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald, yeah. But like there's so many
different. I don't know anything about Broadway musicals. That's probably why I'm not homosexual.
Yeah, right. Yep. Well, they have a whole entire a YouTube channel that has all the different compilations. It's called I'm Not Norm. And it has all the different
I'm Not Norm. I'm subscribed to them, and yeah, they've been putting out obviously a whole lot, even more stuff than what they were before he died. Ever since he passed away, I mean, they've literally like scrounged up everything. They're the ones who I saw. They had a compilation of just all of his cameos in different movies. So like his cameo in like The Animal, or like Deuce Bigelow, European Gigolo, or Jack and Jill, or like just all of his little quick like roles and cameos. Because like the one in The Animal is funny because he's I'm putting together a mob to go after Rob Schneider, and he's just like, he's got questions. So he's just like, hey, I got a question. So what if if I get separated from the mob, what do we do? He's like, don't get separated from the mob. Oh, okay. Well, if we do, we should have a place to meet up, like where the two mobs can meet up, if we get separated, from the mob. He goes, don't get separated from the mob. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, I got another question. And eventually he's just like, you're asking too many questions. You're in the back of the mob. He goes, back of the mob. All right, you're out of the mob. Out of the mob. Just this mob thing.
Yeah.
He's like, but like he just made the most out of every little thing like that he did.
Yeah.
Like even the Deuce Bigelow one is interesting because he's doing like a Scottish accent the whole time, and it's pretty good. Like that one's funny. Even the Jack and Jill one's funny because it's like him leaving in the middle of the date with the girl Adam Sandler, and he just like never comes back. And he's like stick to the wall. but it's good stuff, man. Like he just made the most out of everything, and that's what I love about Norm. Is he would just like every little horrible joke he would try to just squeeze something out of it. It was brilliant.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just end with one of the more edgier Norm Macdonald jokes, but he says college freshman Scott Damerow set a new world record by using his head to bust 142 eggs, and he officially also holds the record for the Guinness Book of World Record for fucking retards. Okay. Yeah, but anyways,
Norm was the greatest, dude. Like he's the best.
He's the best. So
I'm gonna miss him. Like, but the good thing is we have all this footage, like all these shows that he did, these movie appearances, like obviously all these different, we can update jokes, which people have just uploaded compilation after compilation of all this stuff, and like it's just one of those things where I could turn on one of those like anytime and just like there's literally ones of just called like 30 minutes of Norm shitting on OJ Simpson. It's just like all these OJ Simpson jokes, like all in one compilation, you know what I mean? Like it's just great. Like, or like I said, the non sequitur thing where it's just 10 minutes of all those like Frank Stallone and like, or so the German have us believe, like stuff, which just none of it makes any sense, but it's all funny. Like every single one of it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, Norm was awesome. Like he just had kind of like a one of a kind delivery that, and also too, like, but despite what you hear about him, like you like hear about whether he kind of struggled with some gambling addictions and things like that. I mean, but it didn't seem to really like ruin his life or his career or anything. Like so it's always was fun to see him pop up in like some like poker tournaments. I saw him in a couple of poker tournaments here and there, and stuff like that. But even think about like we've lost a lot of great comedians. Like imagine like if we still had Norm Macdonald, Chris Farley, John Belushi, some of those guys, man. We just have like powerhouses that we've lost like in the last probably 30, 40 years, you know. So it's just there's a lot of them.
Well, and if you could recommend any other SNL sketches you ever did off the top of your head, I'll give you a second to think about it. But like one I've been watching over and over again a lot, just because it just makes me smile, is one of his ones he did where he was playing David Letterman. And he had Alec Baldwin as Robert De Niro, and just the opening stuff with him doing the David Letterman thing, it's just so funny. Like with him going back and forth with Mark McKinney as Paul Schaefer, just doing the whole like, Paul, I took put the family in the wagon and went down to the Red Lobster, and I got what I usually get, the fisherman's platter, and just Paul Schaefer going, and Paul Schaefer going, he goes, he goes, but we got one of these waiters. He's one of these real oily guys, one of these real oily guys, and he gives me one of these. He goes, enjoy shrimp. Enjoy your shrimp. And it's just him doing like the laugher. The whole thing just keeps going back to enjoy your shrimp. And there's another one that was similar where he did this guy comes up to me and he goes, hey, you going to go? Just the stupid things that David Letterman would laugh at. Just CJ shrimp. Like I've just been watching that sketch so much. It's just one of those like comfort things, like just of Norm. Like I could just laugh at all the time. And we'll definitely talk about him if we do our tournament fight with SNL impressions, because like his Letterman and obviously his Burt Reynolds will definitely be on there. It'll probably be a heavy favorite, I'm sure. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. They did a lot of awesome characters. Even Bob Dole, that's another one of my favorite characters.
Oh, the Bob Dole stuff is great. Bob Dole.
Back in the day. Yeah, like I'm Bob Dole, yeah. And then and like there's a couple
Bob
other
Dole's very angry.
Like he had one. Yeah. Yeah. Look at him running down the road, kind of chasing after people and stuff, yeah. And then we had one where he was with Matthew Perry, like doing the Sarcasm 101.
Oh, the Sarcasm 101. Yeah, that's a great one. It's online.
Yeah, the spoof of like how like the like Chandler character was so sarcastic all the time. Could I be wearing any more clothes? All that stuff, So they're like,
but the whole joke about Norm in it is him as a student does not understand sarcasm whatsoever. Like, and obviously the real Norm Macdonald loves sarcasm, but he just is not getting it, And yeah, it's a great little sketch that I remember because I used to replay that Matthew Perry episode a lot on like Comedy Central, so I used to see that sketch a lot.
Yeah,
with him doing Sarcasm 101 because they would insult him and he'd be like, "Hey, now, good one."
Yeah. Or like one of my other favorites was like where it's like him and Chris Farley, and it's like a dangerous zoo visit where like they're like with a bunch of guys, and like one by one, all the guys keep getting fed to all the escaped animals. The animals keep escaping, and like eating one of them one by one, and then like you like see him like they're like, oh look, like a little kid fell into the lion enclosure. I'm gonna go save him, and then like they like jump in, and then like you just see like buckets of like blood, and like they like start out with like Kevin Nealon or Kevin Nealon and like Dana Carvey, like a bunch of like all these guys standing in a row, like Mike Myers and stuff, and then like one by one they keep getting picked off. And by the end, it's just him and Chris Farley just covered in like buckets of blood because every time like someone like get eaten and they like throw like buckets of blood on, and then they have a huge reaction. Oh my god! I can't believe it! What's happening? Yeah. Yeah, so that one's great. Yeah. Well, like even him doing the Twilight Zone stuff too. Like they played the Rod Serling character in like a few Twilight Zone sketches too. So like he's pretty good at doing that too. So yeah, there's a lot of really awesome characters. Just like even his stand-up comedy is great too. Like he was huge when it came to a comedy, and nobody else out there really did it like he did. Like there's just so many stories.
Yeah, one of my only regrets is I never got a chance to see him live. Like I never got a chance to see him do stand up or do any kind of or do a show live or any kind of stuff like that. So unfortunately I didn't get a chance to ever, but they're still funny. It's great stuff to look at. I'm glad we have all this footage. He had a really, really long career and a ton of material that's going to be keeping us laughing for a long time. Yeah, we miss you, man.
Yeah, we miss you. Rest in peace. But but yeah, just going back to our live from Movie Hero show, we've been a little kind of off and on with the show. Like we kind of had to kind of put a little bit on the back burner, but we want to try to get into it. So we got a couple episodes coming up for next time, and we'll let you know when we're gonna do it. Like, we may not get to it for a few weeks, but our next two episodes we're still going through season 12. So the next one's season 12, episode 13, hosted by Valerie Bertinelli with musical guest Robert Clay, and then also since NFL season's in full swing now, we're going to be doing one from season 32, episode 16, hosted by Peyton Manning. So there's a lot of pretty memorable ones from that one too. So you can watch for that. So we'll definitely post it on our social media. You can find us all over the social media at Movie Hero 2121 on Twitter and Instagram. You can find us also on Facebook in the Schwindler and Friends and Family group. We always post all our information there. So if you're ever curious about what we're doing, or you can send me a DM if you're ever curious about what kind of things we might have coming up. I always respond to those. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so that'll pretty much do it for us tonight. I'll just say that the next video we have going on will be this Tuesday night. We're going to be doing our episode of Tier Ranker Fights. It's going to be our horror championship episode. So we're going to be taking all our top 10s from every decade and putting them into the Tier Ranker Fights, and then we're going to determine the best episode of all time. So it's a big one. We've been building up to this for a few months, so it should be fun.
Oh yeah.
So definitely tune in this Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific is when it's going to air. So.
I think we're going earlier for that one because of March.
Oh yeah,
so
you're right.
We're going 5 p.m. Pacific, I think, right? And 80s.
Yeah, you're right. We're going 5 p.m. Pacific because Mark Edward Hoyk, when he comes into Los Angeles, he has to go to a coffee shop to film, and we don't want the coffee shop closing on him. So.
Right. No, we did good last time. He was able to hang there the whole time, and we were able to get him in and out. And we'll do this one. But this one will be, not much prep for it. It's all the previous ones that have won. So I mean, we're just picking from all the ones we've already determined are the S tiers, and we're going to try to be super critical and hash out the best of all time. It's going to be tough.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be tough. I might have to go through the list maybe a little bit ahead of time and kind of like pick some of my top contenders, and so and try and fight for them. So yeah. But anyways, this has been fun. So yeah, we'll call it good there. So for Austin, I've been Jordan Turd Ferguson tonight, and we will see you guys next time.